Hello, good evening and welcome once again. It's Wednesday evening, once again it's the return, even though we're getting short on numbers of what's to come for the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show. My name's Dave Parkinson, once again. I'm going to be saying this quite a lot, aren't I? Joined by Mr. Steve Beech. How are you doing, Steve? You okay?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, Parking. Night's drawing in now.
Night's drawing in. We've looked really through the window. Dark. You can't see anything.
Nearly bonfire nights, nearly Halloween. You can tell it's getting to the end of the season. You know, all the internationals being played.
Yeah.
But not just professional internationals, I believe.
No. As you well know, we've been talking about the Community Lions. We've got another Community Lions packed show. It's been the turn of the under-23s to take centre stage. So, yes, they played the other week against the Wales Dragonhearts and won by 38 points to 8. This past weekend, they've been out in Dublin. A jolly good time was had by all. And we've got a report from the game and some interviews to come from Owen Hoyles, Jake Pearce, Paul Couch, and we'll also be talking Women's Rugby League. I caught up with Lois Brown, yet another Lions player who has returned to play a domestic final last weekend as well. I'm going to start, however, with the game against Ireland for the England Community Lions under-23s, and particularly of interest is the fact that two guys that I caught up with before the game, they played last year. So I wanted to get their opinion on kind of like where things were up to. Obviously, they'd already got a game under the belt against Wales, but how the Lions' experience was a second time around. First of all, I caught up with Ellenborough Rangers standoff Owen Hoyles, and this is our conversation. Okay, I'm really pleased to be joined by Owen Hoyles. We're here over in Dublin, preparing for the game against Ireland A tomorrow. Tell us about last week, first of all, when playing against the Wales Dragonhearts.
Yeah, it was a really tough test. They came out as hard, especially early on. We made a lot of mistakes and I feel like our performance could have been better, but in the end we managed to kind of drag it out and get the win in the end, and we're looking to improve on this week.
What do you put that down to? You know, because obviously you're a new team, you've only had limited training time together, haven't you?
Yeah, we've only had kind of 2 sessions before the Wales game, so we're hoping to kind of get into camp in Ireland this week and have a bit of a run through that we've just had, and then build on it from there, because I think time spent together is really important. So we just need to pick up from there.
Obviously we're playing tomorrow, and by the time this goes out, people will be probably tuning in and thinking what's going on and what we've been doing. We've just done an improvised training session, which is one of the strangest experiences that I've ever had, because normally you'd be out on a pitch somewhere, but because of the incessant rain, it's rained us off, and we've been training in the room here.
Yeah, we've had a little stretching and a little run through session in the hotel conference room there, so we've all got carpet burn from wrestling on the carpet there. But yeah, it was a good session. Gary the physio done a really good little session there, and obviously Couchy and the other coaches managed to work with what they've got, so yeah, I feel like prepared pretty well.
This is your second time in the Lions squad, having played last year. Is it different second time round?
Yeah, I think so. I feel a little bit more comfortable. Obviously you're a bit nervous the first time, and it's always nerve-wracking coming into a new group and meeting new faces and just getting to know each other's games, really. But yeah, once you've settled in, and which we are now, I feel, enjoying it, loving it.
And the good thing is that you've all come off the back of really good seasons, haven't you? You know, so yourself with the way that Ellenborough have gone, getting promoted in the very first season as an NCL club.
Yeah, no, we were really chuffed with how we went. We were unfortunate to just miss out on the league, but we've had lads who've had really good years. Like Zach got the NCL Player of the Year for Division 3. We're really happy with how we came in our first year, and pleased with myself as well that season. Yeah.
And what's that like? You know, you've stepped into a new competition, so not only are you stepping into a new group, but you've had like newness all the way through the year, really, haven't you?
Yeah. There's been some tough tests, especially travelling away when there's lads who can't make it and that kind of thing. It's always tough going to Yorkshire, Lancashire, long journeys when you're a bit tired from the bus journey and stuff, but I felt like we dealt with it pretty well, especially towards the back end of the season. We struggled a little bit at first, but once we kind of got our rhythm, and I feel like we dealt with it well, and then obviously got the results from it in the end.
And what are you expecting from Ireland tomorrow?
It'll be a really tough test, I think. I think that, again, they'll come at us hard, especially first half. They'll be wanting to be aggressive with us, but I think as long as we can limit the error rate compared to last week and we stick to our structures, I think they'll do the job and we can get the win, hopefully.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
There's nothing more authentic than sitting in a hotel lobby doing an interview, is there?
Right, it's absolute class, isn't it? I love those background noise of voices going on, and the different things, ordering food and maybe drinks and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, they'd no idea that we were talking rugby league in that lobby, that's for sure. But great to hear from Owen there.
Speaking well, wasn't he?
He was, and I had to ask him about Ellenborough's rise into the National Conference League and sort of how they found it. And it was interesting hearing about that newness that he's had all the way through, and the fact that he's come back into the Lions squad this year with a lot of different players around him than he had last year, and he's playing more of a role this year, to be fair. But having said that, they only had one international that they played, so I think it helps when you've got maybe 2 or 3 games, because you can build yourself into it, can't you?
Like a proper tour in that respect.
Definitely. But he's a really good lad, he's Owen, and it'll be interesting to see sort of like where he goes, like in the close season, because he's moved down to Manchester as part of his work. So,
that's a long haul, isn't it, from where he was?
So will he end up playing for a side more local to himself? Let's wait and see what happens there. But great to hear from Owen there.
Yeah, the other thing there is, though, Parkinson, as you say, even though they're not playing against the same team over the sort of 3-week period, as it were, they're still playing a good tour. I suppose it's like a cup tournament in it, that they've got to move from one venue to another, which is good experience because they're still keeping together as a team, as a squad.
Definitely.
So they've still got to have that same bond and discipline, as we've talked about in the past.
And I've got to say, I think before they travelled, well, certainly before the game that they played against Wales, they'd had 2 sessions together. That's not a lot of time, 2 hours. And then suddenly you're thrust into, an international game against a Wales side that is always gunning for you.
Yeah.
And he's always looking to do that. So it's no wonder they were perhaps a little bit scratchy at certain points of that particular game. But, you heard Owen there sort of saying about how he felt it came together more in the second half. And I feel that this particular game was, again, a continuation of that against Ireland. We did allude to the fact that there was a certain amount of improvisation. The idea was that when we got the plane, we would touch down, drop our bags off at the hotel, and the stadium was about 10 minutes walk away.
Yeah.
So really, really close. So the idea was that we were going to wander across to the stadium and they were going to do the training session out on the field.
Yeah.
But as everybody knows, we've been hit by this storm Babette over the last sort of few days. The rain was absolutely incessant. You're talking to a man who decided rather than packing a case, he would take a rucksack, which he had to then put on the back of the plane. So when it got unloaded, it was soaked to the bone and everything within it was absolutely drenched. So you can imagine how wet it was when we got into Ireland. Horizontal rain. It actually took longer to get transport back to the hotel than it did the actual flight.
Yeah. I'll ask you, who did you fly with?
So we flew with Ryanair.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I always like those little hops, because you get up, don't you? It's a short hop, really. Yeah. It's a 40-minute flight.
Yeah. It makes you think, though, Pack, it would have been a real adventure if you'd have gone on the ferry in that weather.
It would, but having said that,
you'd have only had half a team at the other end.
Having said that, I would have also had my backpack on my back, so there's no chance it would have got as drenched as what it did. But yes, these things are sent to try us. So we get there. There's a couple of frantic telephone calls about what we're going to do about training, because it takes almost an hour and a half to get everybody into the hotel. The little complimentary bus only seats 16 people. There's 29 of the squad that has gone through, including management and sort of all staff and what have you. So it would take 2 trips, and then the guy was saying, I can't let you all on one anyway because I've got to pick other people up and stuff. So it ended up being 2 trips and a taxi. of staff
Yeah.
to get to the hotel. So we'd had a bit of an adventure before we actually got there. So then we get there's phone calls going to the ground. No, you're not training on here, lads. Well, there's a bit beneath the stand that, there's like a bit of a running track underneath the stand, and it's no, we can't let you in that either because we've got because it's the Clondiff, I think, the Clondiff Harriers athletics.
Yeah.
They were doing some running. Indoor running, of course. So the only place that was available was the conference room of the hotel, and the lads cleared the tables, put them all to the far four corners of the room, and yes, they had a session actually within the room, and we're talking about a space that's probably about 20 by 20 metres.
Yeah.
So you can imagine a squad of 20 players running up and down in there. So, but it was short, it was sharp, it was good, it was enjoyable. It's very different.
That's very NRL actually, isn't it? Because the NRL do a lot of that sort of warm up. They don't go out on the pitch. They've got rooms on the inside where they do all the. But I think they don't have a best axe minister carpets. I think they've got 3G grass at least in there.
Yeah. So that was a very interesting experience, but great for Owen to speak up about that. And I had to ask him about it because literally we just stepped out of the room at that point.
Yeah.
And
how do you get back home after a tour though? And you get back to your girlfriend or your partner and they ask you, how have you got carpet burnt on your knees?
Yeah, and then it's like, well, that's what's happened. We actually did a training session indoors. I can vouch for him.
Yep.
I can definitely vouch for him. I was there as it was happening. So that was Owen Hoyles. Great to hear from him. Next, we're going to hear from the skipper, Jake Pearce. So I got to have a chat with Jake. Now he's had a really good season for Wath Brow Hornets, and I felt it would be remiss of me not to actually talk about the campaign and his chance of captaining the Lions yet again.
Well, Jake, great to meet up with you again. I've got to say, welcome back to the Lions programme, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having us back. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back.
So you're captain of this group. You're approaching the second test match of the autumn series. What's your thoughts so far? You played against Wales last week. How was that as a game?
Yeah, as a game, I think because it was the first game that the lads have played together, it was sort of hard to get into the game. And I think we showed that in the first half that we did struggle and there was a lot of errors. Whether that come down to nerves or what, or it being the first time that we played together, I'm not sure. But come the second half, we started to string together and sort of things started to work and we started to mesh a lot better. But as I say, hopefully this week, them nerves will have been rid of. Can't use the excuse we haven't played together now, so hopefully we put on a lot better performance today, come away with the win.
And also you've been in the company of these guys for a couple of days now, so that's got to help, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, being able to fly over here, spend more time with each other and things like that, and just see how everybody is just in a relaxed environment, not just rugby. I think that helps everybody come together a bit more, and obviously you're sharing rooms with lads that you don't know, so just having a crack with them, watching telly with them, you see how people relax and things like that, so yeah, it's nice.
So who are you sharing with and what can you tell me about him?
I'm sharing with Brodie Lee Butler, and to be fair, he's a decent roommate with him being in the forces, so he's nice and clean and tidy, everything's folded up, he doesn't make a mess, so yeah, and he's a good laugh. The only thing is he does have a little bit of a cackly snore, so hopefully that's nipped in the arse once he's had a few drinks tonight.
And I've got to say as well, because obviously this is your second time involved, it's a slightly different squad, isn't it? So there's different lads that have come in. It's perhaps unfair to say, where does this rank compared with your experience with the Lions last year?
Yeah, well, I know that some of the lads that, even though I have not played with them, they have played for other Lions teams in the past, so they have got an idea of what it's like being in this sort of environment and stuff like that. And even that, the lads that haven't been in this environment, they have took to it like ducks to water. So yeah, I think they're all pretty clued up on how to play and things like that. But it's one of them things. You're gonna start, the longer you spend together, the better it's gonna be. So it's hard to rank teams, but yeah, they are a great bunch of lads. So
I want to reflect on your personal season with Wath Brow. So ultimately, you finished, was it 4th in the league? And you bowed out in the playoffs. I don't mean to rub that in or anything like that. but still a season of achievement as a club as a whole. But what about yourself?
Yeah, well, I thought we had a great season. I mean, the Challenge Cup this year, we had the privilege of to be able to go to Batley Bulldogs and start off the season against them. Although we got sort of a severe beating, that experience to play against that sort of level of competition, I think, put us in good stead for the season. And I know that we did get onto quite a good roll. And I mean, like Hunslet, when they came to our spot, we knocked them off their perch. So the talent was there, but as the season goes on, you do have dips and things like that. So it is hard to say consistent right the way through. But
it depends on availability as well, doesn't it? You know, there's work commitments, there's holiday commitments, there's festival seasons, all sorts really these days, isn't there?
I think as well the fact that we've got 3 big NCL clubs in our area within 5 minutes of each other, you don't sort of have them pools that the larger clubs have. I mean, all the lads that I play with are local lads that have come through the system, so that's why up at Wath Brow the youth systems sort of it's encouraged a lot to bring players through, because like I say, everybody lives within 5 minutes of each other, nobody travels to play, and you all do it for the love of the game. So
and Jake, finally, you know, Ireland Day today, what are you expecting on?
I imagine them to play a very similar game to Wales. They're going to be intense. They always are, regardless of the level of skill levels and things like that. I mean, they represent the country at the end of the day, so we're expecting a test. But hopefully our skills and the levels that the boys play at will shine through. So yeah, but it should be a good arm wrestle.
Cheers, mate. Best of luck.
No worries, cheers.
So really interesting there to hear from Jake. First of all, there's quite a lot that we packed into that little interview as well, to be honest. So to unpack it, good to hear him talking about Wath Brow, but in particular, the interesting thing was, he's right when he's saying that the clubs are within sort of 5-10 minutes of each other, up in that area of Cumbria. So the fact that they're able to retain and build as they do is of full credit to them. It's something that really, perhaps we don't consider it that enough. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've got a saturation of National Conference League and North West Men's League clubs right around our area, haven't we? You've only got to go, you could basically draw a 10-mile radius around from where we're doing this recording from, and you've got like, what, 15-20 clubs really, haven't you? You know, but
it's all relative though, Parky, isn't it? Because there are not a lot of people up there. So when they're so close, you know, if there's not a lot to pick from, then it is difficult. And like you were saying in that interview, certainly you get, you know, the old holiday season, a couple of lads who may, you know, after work, you've got lads who obviously got family commitments and all those types of things. Festivals, again, as you say. I mean, that makes it a little bit more on the difficult side. I'll tell you what I did like. It was interesting. I always said after they played Batley that it was a springboard for them to you know, sort of start really well into the season. That can go so the other way. So you've got to take your hat off to them to you know, to Wath Brow there to say, you know, great for digging in and using it as that springboard rather than, you know, sort of letting it get them down.
Well, was it last year where I think it was Hunslet Parkside, as they were at that stage, who they had a similar sort of run in the Challenge Cup, and it seemed to upset the first month of the season, didn't it? You know, dare we say it? So you can say, you know, this season we've seen it with St Helens, haven't we? And with regards, you know, going over and playing in the World Club Challenge. Yes, that's a springboard into the season, but in the way that Saints had it, it was almost like it was wrongly placed, really, wasn't it? You know, and sometimes it can act like that, and you end up picking injuries up, you end up picking all kinds of things, and there's other things at play, isn't there? But really good to hear from him saying about that, and again, interesting for him to reflect as well on sort of his Lions experience second time round. And he's right, when you look at the squad, you've got the likes of what he said about players that had represented the Lions in other age groups. You've got the likes of Jack Newbegin, Harry Penny, Noah Lancelot, lads that I was away with in Italy last year, Rio McQuiston. there's other lads that have come in. Noel Branthwaite, who's had a good season up at Ensingham, Maurice Camano, who's been excellent, and East Leeds Junior, who over the last sort of 18 months has switched over to play for Hunslet, and has had a particularly strong season. Tyler Dargan, of course, was a guy that we've mentioned a lot over the course of the year. All of these players, they're all coming in form, because they've all had really good seasons, and that was something that I was keen to point towards, to be fair, as well. Can
I just ask you, Packet, how squad-wise, what was the size of the squad that they took over there?
20.
20.
So all of them managed to play, a couple of knocks and injuries as well, so I'm interested to sort of see whether anybody's either drafted in or is unable to play. So we've got a shorter squad this coming weekend against Wales. They had like a couple of trial sessions, brought the squad together, and I've sort of took it from there. And all these lads have mixed. All of these lads, and the really interesting thing is you've got a lad like Aaron Turnbull, for example, who was in the very first Lions squad that I covered, going back 4 or 5 years. I think he was in the under-18s, so he's now a little bit older, but he's using that little bit of experience. And then obviously you've got Jake there, who's back in that squad. There's a few other players that I'm sure came under contention as well, and Ellison Holgate as well, who I remember the last time I went to Ireland in particular, Ellison played in that under-23s game against the Irish club side last time, and had a worldie of a game. And I said to him, actually, I said, I don't know whether you'll remember, the last time that we played. He said, but your last 20 minutes, I think you got moved out to standoff or scrum half, and there was one ball in particular where you looped it out, and it was a 30-metre looping pass. It was a worldie to get the winger in at the corner. And I just said, you're going to do a couple of those in this game. But yeah, great to hear from Jake there, giving his reflections. There was a bit of drama after that,
Go on.
Okay, so I did that interview just after breakfast on the Saturday morning, just ahead of the game. The lads had been out and had a bit of a team walk. We'd all gone back. They'd done the shirt presentations. I took the pictures. Half of the lads decided that they'd go back to the rooms to get ready, or have a bit of a chill out time, because we got about 2 hours to spare then before they were all meeting up. 9 of the lads piled into the lift. The lift only broke between the floors, didn't it? So they all got stuck in the lift. So the hotel had to get, like a guy out to go and fix the lift and get them released. They ended up, putting a load of waters and stuff ready for them for coming out. They were all like looking a bit dishevelled as they come out. There's a couple of lads who, didn't like that experience, but I have to admit, I'm glad I wasn't stuck in that lift as well, because that's always been my big fear. But
it was one of those where, as the doors were shutting, somebody ran up and said, hang on, let me get in there, which made it a little bit fuller than it possibly would have been.
Well, to be fair, this was levelled at him, and it said, what have you done? Have you overpacked it or something like that? And it did say on the lift it had a capacity of 13, so 9 of them got in.
Oh, so that no problem there then.
So
insurance would have paid up.
But at one point it was looking like we were going to play a 9-a-side game against Ireland.
How long were they in there for?
They were in there for about an hour.
Really?
Yeah, because it took them a while to get somebody out to sort of get them fixed and everything. Yeah.
Oh my God, would have hated that.
And there was 1 or 2 of them that definitely didn't like that experience. That's for sure. So bit of drama ahead of the game. So we've heard from Owen, we've heard from skipper Jake. Let's tell you a little bit about the game, shall we? So Ireland A6, England Community Lions under-23s 44. So 34 second half points helped the Community Lions under-23s to victory over an ever improving Ireland A at Morton Stadium. For long spells, particularly in the first half, they asked questions, did Ireland, and defended stoutly. Hunslet's prolific winger Tyler Dargan opened scoring after 12 minutes, somehow grounding a crossfield kick from Millam's Jack Newbegin. Hindley's Joe Heaton slotted the first of 4 goals. Egremont's Aaron Turnbull got the Lions second after 16 minutes, bulleting through, but it was too far out for Heaton to goal. Ireland then saw prop forward Alex Duff sin-binned, but rallied after Dargan couldn't ground a difficult chance on the right. Unfortunately for the hosts, they lost the services of halfback Liam O'Callaghan, who was taken to hospital as a precaution with a neck injury. Standoff Jake Connell for Ireland zipped through the line and found support from Richie McHugh, but the Lions chased back to deny points. This was Maurice Camano actually, so for a prop forward chasing back when it all looked done and dusted, he came up with a cracking tackle on McHugh and it rattled him, to be fair. He thought he was over. He was getting ready to celebrate. He was in that mode and then suddenly, whap! Maurice Camano appears from nowhere and drags him down. And then the Lions held out when Turnbull flattened Aaron Lynch near the line. There was some adversity before the break for the Lions as well, when Heaton was sin-binned for his part in a challenge, and it remained 0-10 to the Lions at half-time. Seconds into the new half, Ireland came up with a superb attack when Connell again stepped a defender and blazed over half the length of the pitch to open their account, with Ryan Hogg converting to close the score to 6-10. This seemed to poke the bear, and it was the worst thing that could have happened to Ireland, and the Lions clicked into ruthless gear to score 4 tries in 9 minutes. First, Lee Miners Rangers Noah Lancelot grounded at the corner. Lovely finish. It was a good passing movement out to the left, and Ellenborough Ranger Owen Hoyles goaled on 44 minutes. Then a clever offload from Millam's Rio McQuiston and dancing feet from Wath Brow star Ellison Holgate brought him a try beneath the post, and Heaton returned from the sin bin to goal. The next set got even better when Intro's Bridge Centre, Callum Rogers ran 35 metres and burst past a couple of attempted tackles on the line to ground. Heaton's third goal opened a 6-28 lead. With the pack carrying well and Ireland wilting under the pressure, Holgate cleverly curved off to the left, working a 1-2 with Turnbull before weaving in at the corner, and that increased the advantage to 6-32. A further score came down that prolific left side when Harry Penny was too powerful and Heaton completed his goal haul. There was still time for another Lions score when Noel Branthwaite passed for Brodie Lee Butler, and the Ince, Rosebridge and Royal Navy second row sliced through to finish superbly for Hoyles to add his second goal. Once more, Ireland rallied in the last 20 minutes, thrice denying the Lions on the right before some late possession and solid link-up involving the effective Ellis Keppel was thwarted by strong defence, and the Lions held out to celebrate their victory. Final score 44-6. Good performance that.
Yeah.
And particularly second half. First half, Ireland were, as you know, the guys mentioned, they were full of brimstone.
Yeah.
They gave away some really strange, silly penalties actually, but half of it was because they were too over-enthusiastic. They were getting up in England's faces, denying them space. It meant everything to them. I've got to say the try that Dargan scored at the corner to open the game was a bit of a worldie. I still don't know. I managed to get it on video. So if you've seen the Lions Twitter account, I managed to get the video of him grounding it. I still don't know how he's managed it. I've watched it umpteen times. There's no way he should have got that ball, and suddenly he just emerged with it over the line, and again managed to ground just before the dead ball line. So, but the second half was really good, really good, and I was expecting it to be really close after they dashed away within the opening minute. When you
saw that score at half time, I would have thought, okay, England probably would have gone on to win, but certainly not by that much. Yeah.
And like I said, the way that Ireland started the second half, albeit at that point the Lions were down to 12 men with the sin bin of Heaton, it was a really good try as well.
Yeah.
Look out for that name, Jake Connell. He's definitely a guy to look out for. I'm looking forward to sort of tracing him and
watching how he goes,
putting him on the Parky scrapbook, because that's usually what I like to do when I come across these names and stuff.
So what was the makeup of the Ireland team? I know we spoke about this in a previous show, didn't we? Because obviously we've seen a couple of the club sides over the last couple of years, and they performed well.
Yeah, they had about 5 or 6 lads that were from the domestic game in Ireland. They had a couple of lads from London Scholars. Paul Bolger was the captain, who's played fairly regularly up until this season with Cornwall.
Yeah.
Ellis Keppel over the last few years, who I mentioned, and had a strong game. I think he represented the students. There was a couple of lads in there from St Helens, strangely enough, as well. So they had a couple of Lynches in from Hers Finch and the like, and they had some good players. I was impressed with them, to be honest. I know that might sound silly when a team's gone down by 40 points. The last time that an England under-23s went over to Ireland, they notched 68 points.
Yeah.
And to be fair, could have had more.
Yeah.
So that's a 20-odd point improvement, that, in 2 years.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's a very different makeup of a side. We've said that. They had quite a bit of experience from elsewhere. That come in. They did have a lad as well from the North Devils in Australia. So he was the prop forward, actually, Toby Ennis, who was pretty solid.
Got an Irish name though, hasn't he? Ennis.
Yeah. No, but seriously, he played well. He played well too. And Ryan Hogg was a right boxer tricks from 9 for him. And he does play for, I think, one of the Dublin sides. Yeah. So it's encouraging. Really encouraging, to be honest.
I think that's what we were saying a few weeks ago with regards to us having seen those club sides play, and we knew that they played at a tough, hard level, and if they could transfer that to the obviously international game, it's early doors in some respects, but that's some say. I mean, the competitions as a whole, and we've discussed this for a few years now, that this is the type of thing that is needed on a regular basis.
But also the lads that they brought in from elsewhere, they all added something. Yeah. I'm sure that, again, if they can keep that sort of squad together over the next couple of years, that'll develop. Yeah. That'll develop. They'll get to know each other's games. I mean, they've had 2 internationals. They played themselves against Wales a couple of weeks ago and went down to them by 28 points to 16. I know it sounds daft when they've been beaten heavier by the Lions, but they'll learn a lot from that. And as I said, the way that they got stuck in, particularly first half, but then they didn't let the scoreline bother them too much. Yeah. Sometimes you can fall into a bit of a hole, can't you?
That's right.
Start to feel sorry for yourself, particularly when they had that stint where they conceded 4 tries in 9 minutes. Yeah. Which is just, if any side can put that amount of points on in such a short space of time, they're going to go on to quite a handsome win, aren't they, to be fair, generally.
So what age group were the Ireland A then? Were they under 23s as well?
No. They were sort of they were an open age side more than anything. They did have a couple of younger lads like Keppel, who's played for the students and that type of stuff, and there were some younger looking fellas there, but I would say that their ages were between sort of 21 and about 30.
Yeah, so there was a good a broad stroke there.
Yeah. So that was the game. Did it impress the coach? Well, afterwards I caught up with Paul Couch, and this is what we had to
13
say.
Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. We talk because we care.
Well, Paul, I'm catching up with you in the aftermath of what was an impressive win in the end, 44 points to 6, 10-0 at half time though. They made you work really hard for it, didn't they, Ireland?
Yeah, massive improvement from Ireland from when we came here last year. I think the game's growing over here, and I think they're doing a great job to improve it over there as well. Yeah, really pleased with the reaction from half time. We had a few choice words at half time about the way we played it first half, but a really good reaction, and running in 34 points in the second half, really pleasing.
It was almost like that conceded try just prodded the burr.
Yeah, we spoke about starting well in the second half, and pretty poor way to start, conceding a try. And I thought their 9 were really good for them today. I thought he played 80 minutes. I think he played 80 minutes and caused us a lot of problems.
And from your own side, you ended up, like you do on these sort of trips, you look at getting certain things out of certain players, don't you? And players end up playing in different positions. I thought there was quite a bit of that.
Yeah, it's hard because you're wanting these players to play as many minutes as you can, and I think we've lost 3 players maybe for next week, which is disappointing. But there were a lot of players that played in positions that they're not used to. But again, we got a reaction from it, so I'm really pleased in how they reacted to it.
And some really good teamwork involved as well.
Yeah, I thought Ellis and Aldgate were outstanding in that second half. He seemed to be all over the field, and Jack at half back I thought were very, very good today. So really pleasing points, and on to Wales next week.
How much is this an improvement on last week against Wales?
Oh, massive improvement, because it were really disappointing with that against Wales. To see how we played and to see what shape we throw up against Wales. Not taking anything against Wales, because I think they're another team that's on the up and really improving. But I think we've had a good reaction. We've had a good trip, apart from 1 or 2 little incidents this morning. But it's been testing. But it's been enjoyable.
I mean, I will say, these incidents that you refer to, it's players getting stuck in lifts. It's nothing more serious than that. But it was serious enough, because at one point you was looking like you might have been missing 9 of your players.
Yeah, it were funny at first, and then it got a little bit serious. But then I think we can joke about it. 9 players stuck in one lift, panicking a little bit, but. We got it sorted, and everybody reacted on field.
And to be fair, really good reaction, like you said.
Yeah, really pleased. Some really good performances. Some players have really stood up today, and some players have really maybe have a good look at them for the future.
Yeah, because this almost doubles up, doesn't it, as a trial for later on in the open age things that you've got planned next season.
Yeah, that was the plan, to have a look at some of these players from the 23s to see if they're able to step up to the open age and play in a East versus West in February. There is some players that have caught my eye. There is some players that may drop into that East versus West, but it's also a great opportunity for some players who have come through the system to play at under 23s level.
As you were saying, it's game 2 or 3 in this particular series of internationals, and I get the feeling that the more that the fellas are getting to know each other, the better that connection comes on the field as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've seen yourself how well they've mingled and how well they've gelled while we've been over there. You usually sit at breakfast and you'll see Cumbrians sat with Cumbrians, Lancashire and Yorkshire all sat separate, but they've mixed. They've been mingling really well, and it's good to see, and obviously it's showing on the field as well.
I've had a bit of that, because I remember speaking to Jake this morning, and he was saying about sharing with Brodie. So already was that intended to mix everybody up as well?
Yeah, when I put the rooms together, that were the intention, to mix counties up, because they do have a tendency, and it happens. They do have a tendency to stick with their own county, but I think it's important that they do mingle, and I think it's important that they have done that for performances that put on Rugby field.
Another enjoyable trip. We've got to say, we make a habit of doing these little interviews after enjoyable games against Ireland, don't we?
Yeah, they're good, and I've got to say how well Ireland have looked after us as well. Just absolutely fantastic what they're doing here, and this Morton Park's a great setup, a really good setup, and there were doubts about the game last night with the rain that we've had over here, but I thought the pitch is probably one of the best pitches that these lads have played on.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
13 Pro-Am, giving a voice to Community Rugby League.
So there was Paul Couch. I'm thankful as always, to get to speak to Paul, because he really does give a truthful and honest opinion, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, and that's what you want, isn't it? And I like the bit of like he was saying about splitting the guys up from a rooming point of view, because you can understand. I mean, it's only logical that if you're playing with guys who are from your neck of the woods, or even in your team all the time, you don't really want. I'm not saying you don't really want it. You want everybody to get together as a squad, enjoy each other's company off the field, so when you get on the field, you're a team. You're not sort of like 3 or 4 different teams. And I totally agree. And it sounds as though the lads, I've really enjoyed it. Put a great show on, I must admit. But I'm sure the guys will not be appreciative when somebody says, "Do you want a lift in future?"
I can see, so there is one more game to come. There's an overnight stop in Wales, and I can see 20 lads going nowhere near the lifts. If there's a lift involved, they'll take the stairs. They will take the stairs. But fantastic being away with those guys. A couple of real unsung heroes as well amongst the squad. I don't like sometimes how in match reports and stuff you don't always get to mention what everybody does. So you had the likes of Hunslet's Jack Briggs, who came off the bench and gave a really good account of himself. Ellison Holgate, I mentioned him about throwing that worldly pass. He came up with 2 cracking tries. Harvey Stevens did a really good job when he came off the bench, and I was walking through the airport with Gary Hewer. And we were chatting because, he was saying, next week we're going to have a chat, me and you, about the 18s and sort of where that's up to. So that's an exclusive that's coming next week.
There we go.
But he said, just look at Harvey Stevens there. He says, don't he remind you of Graham West? And he has, because he's like really tall.
Yeah.
He's Harvey Stevens. Dead broad shoulders, and he did. He's a spit of Graham West when he was in like his early 20s. So let's hope that he develops in the same way that he did, because he had a stellar
And the thing
career,
is with these age groups was like the under 18s and under 23s. And these are the years when they start, developing into men, aren't they? Certainly the 18s, and you want them then as they get to 23 ready. You're going to be the developed, hopefully the developed article physically for the open age side.
Well, I mean, arguably, with the way that the age groups are set up, should this not be the way that professional rugby league goes when it starts to look at that? So you go in. So rather than having a reserve set up, you have an under 23 set up. Because by the time, and let's be honest, we're at times a late developer sport, aren't we? So not everybody is ready to go right to the very top at 18.
That's right,
or younger. And I think that this is I'm going to be getting on my scholarship high horse again in a minute if I don't watch out. So I'm not going to go down that route. I promise. But this is why I buy so much into the Lions programme, because it builds players and gives them experiences, and there's lads here that, there's some that knew about each other, there's some that have played against each other, but there's other lads that haven't had that experience. Joe Heaton has stepped up right from the North West Men's League, played for Hindley, to represent England Community Lions at under 23 level. Fantastic for him. And he, other than his sin bin, he had a solid game, to be fair. But it's giving him experience as well, isn't it? Playing with a different group of players, and in some respects, no disrespect to Hindley, but playing with players who are playing at a potentially higher standard.
It is correct, and also it gives other players in the lower leagues that opportunity. That hang on, somebody here from Hindley's got into that squad.
There's no reason why anybody else couldn't get in that squad with the right sort of commitment. It's not a close shop in that. No, it isn't. It isn't. And again, I've got to pay full credit to Adam Carr as well. I had an interesting conversation with his parents actually in the hotel, and they said, "Oh, you're doing media and stuff on this." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Are you doing pictures of the game as well?" I said, well, I'll be trying to, I said that, it's not the best thing that I can do, but I said, I'll try and provide as best as I can. And he said, oh, you can do better than the last guy. He said, the other guy did 70 odd pictures, and he said, and we only got Adam on one. He's dipping his head to do a tackle. So I made a point of trying to get Adam Carr when he was running, and I went up to him afterwards, and I said to him, because he was stood with his parents afterwards, I said, I think I've got a good one of you running. He goes, oh, brilliant, Dave, brilliant. So I made sure that I sent it.
Because that's the other thing as well, isn't it? It's parents who are proud of what the sons have achieved by doing these sorts of things. And I know from when there was the the Italy trip that you went on last year. I mean, the amount of people that went there who were, pleased as punch. Obviously at the result, but the fact that the way the Suns had represented both themselves, the families, the clubs, and obviously the country.
It's important, and I can say, Adam was brilliant, out there. He had a really good game. He's come off the back of a strong season with Thato Heath, and I have no doubt that he's once again gonna excel himself this coming weekend against Wales. So that is all happening. So we've got another overnight stop coming up, I think, like I've mentioned. Looking forward to making that trip with the boys. They're going to be travelling down by coach this time. Yeah. And have you noticed my trips are getting in ever decreasing circles now? Yeah.
Do you need your passport for this one as well, Parker?
I don't think so.
No.
I might just take it though, because I'll miss it otherwise. 'Cause it's been a good companion for the last few weeks as that passport. To be fair, even though the picture's nothing like how I look at the moment.
Yeah, I can imagine.
With a shaved head, but so once again, a fantastic experience with the England Community Lions, who won in Ireland by 44 points to 6, and will continue and conclude the autumn series with a game in Wales in Port Talbot this coming weekend. The game is going to be played on Saturday. Yes, I'll be there, and yes, I'll be hopefully getting some post-match reaction and having a chat with a couple more of the lads. So you best make yourselves available.
Yeah. Hope you're listening, boys, and stay away from them lifts.
Right, so there is a couple of games that are still going on that we would be remiss of us to miss out from talking about. So the first of those came in Cumbria when it was the turn of the Fur Press Printers Cumberland Cup final last Friday evening. Dissington up against Cockermouth Titans. Dissington won the game by 14 points to 10. Close run thing against Cockermouth. I know that they were hopeful that they were going to take home the final trophy of the Carla season. And the fact that they have done that up against Cockermouth Titans, who gave their all, absolutely gave everything in that game. But well done to Dissington. They couldn't do the full clean sweep heading into the National Conference League, but they've gone pretty close.
Yeah, I must admit, I think last week we thought that might have been a bit more of a convincing win, but got to take your hat off to Cockermouth Titans there.
It would also be remiss of us not to mention the fact that it is the opening up of the Women's Rugby League amateur season. So this is the Wala. So it's going to start on Sunday. 5 teams set to contest Division 1 and 8 involved in Division 2. So your Division 1 clubs are going to be Dewsbury Moor, Featherstone Lionesses, Fryston Warriors. This is a new name after Methley have withdrawn from the competition, but all their girls have gone over to play for Fryston, so they're not the Methley Warriors, the Fryston Warriors, Stanley and West Bowling. So it's a really Yorkshire competition, that one, isn't it? And then Division 2, that will comprise Batley, Craigleston, Halton, Heworth, Leeds University, Odsal Sedberg, West Leeds, and Wigan St Jude's. So all that action gets underway this coming Sunday. Now, it would also be remiss of us not to mention the conclusion to the League One and the Championship women's seasons. So that all came to a close over at Odsal Stadium on Sunday, when in the Division 1 playoff it was Thato Heath taking on Illingworth. Illingworth just edging the game by 22 points to 16. So there was no trophy lift for Arabella Reid, who I was away in Serbia with the other week. But there was a trophy lift for Hull Kingston Rovers. So again, they were so well represented out in Serbia.
That's right, yeah.
No less than 4 of the playing members were out there, represented Hull Kingston Rovers superbly. And what a season it has been for Hull Kingston Rovers. But don't let me tell you about it. We've got a guest. It's Lois Brown, and she'll give us the lowdown.
From players, referees and competitions, to clubs and playing fields, we talk about the lot on the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show.
Okay, so it's been a busy season as far as the community game is concerned. It's also been a really, really busy season as far as the women's community game is concerned. And it all came to a head on the weekend on Sunday with 2 games over at Odsall Stadium, Bradford. I'm delighted to be joined by Lois Brown of Hull Kingston Rovers. How are you doing, Lois? You okay?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Still on cloud 9, I think, a little bit from yesterday.
I was going to say, maybe you can pick up the story for us, so tell us a little bit about the season that Hull KR's had, leading up into this final.
Just success after success, really. We managed to do the treble yesterday, so we were league leaders, top of the league. We won the League Cup and then finished it off yesterday by winning the grand final. So just a really positive season for Rovers, and hopefully we can just keep pushing on next year and do the same again, really.
I mean, that's an amazing season. Did you go through unbeaten, or did somebody actually lower your ranks at some point?
No, we lost 2 games in the season. So the first one was actually against Oulton, who we played yesterday. So it was good to kind of get the win again yesterday. And the second one was Sheffield Eagles in our away game. Sheffield actually came out on top as well. So not unbeaten, but we did our best.
As close as you can get to it, to be fair. But I mean, what sort of game was it? Because I mean, Oulton seemed to get out of the blocks pretty quick, didn't they?
Yeah, I think, like I said, we lost to them in the season at their place, so we kind of knew that they could bring a strong squad. And it's been a while since quite a few of the girls had played. Obviously, it's been a long season, having a final at the end of October. So the first half, we just didn't get going. I mean, we went in at half time and we were losing, and I kind of said to the girls, look, we've not come this far to only come this far. Like, we need to play for each other. This isn't showcasing what we do and what we've done all season. And then I think that's exactly what the girls did in the second half. We came out, we played for each other, and we showed why we're the top of the league, why we won the cup, because actually when we pull together, there's no stopping us.
And a certain Lois Brown scored a couple of tries, didn't she?
Yeah, actually, I got told the night before by my coach. He said, if you need any stat motivation, you're currently on 49 Hull KR tries, so if you score tomorrow, you'll make 50. So I ended up coming away with 2, so I've got 51 tries to my name now, which I think's a little bit unusual for a prop forward, but there you are.
That's an amazing record, to be honest, because I mean, how many seasons is it that you've been with Hull KR now?
This is my 3rd one, so I think Ben messaged me and said it's 51 tries in 44 games, I think. So
that's winger stats. What are you doing?
Yeah. the rest of the girls do the hard work. I just run 2 metres over the line at the
end. What is this group of girls like to play with?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, I've said it all the time. It's the most team spirit, team community I've ever been a part of. I mean, I know I spoke to you over in Serbia, and I've been part of rugby union teams, I've been part of judo squads, but nothing's kind of felt as together as what we've got at Rovers. There's no sort of cliques. Everyone gets on with everyone, and it's such a family feel. And I've got to say the supporters as well. The amount of people that came out yesterday and have done all season. It's just fantastic. And again, I think that's what we brought out in that second half. Is we owe it to all the supporters and all the fans and everyone that's kind of followed us all season to get that win. So yeah, it's a phenomenal setup, and I think we've got something special.
That's certainly something that I thought myself over in Serbia, because you was fortunate to be there with 3 other of your teammates, and I'm guessing any other number of girls could have made that squad, couldn't they, with the sounds of the season that you've had?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got a lot of talent in the team, and I think the biggest thing for some of the girls, I mean, I've said it a few times speaking to various people, we've got quite a young squad, and they just need to start believing in themselves a little bit more. They just have the confidence to play heads up rugby, and yeah, we've got some real talent, so hopefully, yeah, there'll be a few more people getting international honours over the next few years.
I did have a bit of a sneaky watch of the game over on YouTube, and I sort of clocked that really you sort of like, you know your strengths, don't you, as a squad? So you tend to blitz through the middle and then look to play it wide, sort of in the last couple of sets if you're in a decent position, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have got a strong middle, and we do what we do, and I think we make the meters, and yeah, we get it out wide and let the backs do all the fancy stuff. But yeah, we, like you say, we do know our strengths, and that's why we've got to where we've got. I think Ben's believed in us and keeps telling us, look, let's play our game no matter who you're coming up against, and we didn't do that in the first 40. And that's what we went back to in that second half, and thankfully we came out on top.
What's Ben like as a coach?
Oh, he's brilliant. I mean, he's OKR through and through. He's got so much belief in us. He's just phenomenal. I mean, he got married last week over in Las Vegas, and on the day that he got home after a 13-hour delay, he was right there training with us on Thursday night because we had a grand final to win. It's just his commitment to the club and our team is just outstanding. I've never known anything like it in a coach, and I have to say for his now wife as well, she's phenomenal. I mean, you can hear her I've watched the game back, and all you can hear is her shouting at the sideline. She's been a massive support. So yeah, it's just what they give to that club is just fantastic.
And as you say, it's amazing when you've got that level of support, isn't it? That must be able to lift you. It must be worth 6-12 points every game, that.
Yeah, definitely. I think when a few of us have got our heads down in that first half, and then you just hearing the constant cheers and support from the ground, you just think, yeah, this is why we're here. We're doing it for them as well, and it does just raise you and lift you that little bit more. Definitely. I mean, it's a whole squad performance. I know there's a couple of girls that missed out, unfortunately, as these things go. But they were there carrying the water on. A few girls that were injured that were just constantly shouting, constantly backing us up. It's a squad performance, and the supporters definitely came into play yesterday.
So we already heard that you said about playing 40 odd games over the past 3 years. Is that kind of like the story that Hull Kingston Rovers have been on from a women's point of view? Did they all come together sort of 3-4 years ago, or as far as you know, or is the story a bit more long ranging than that?
It's a little bit more long range. I think we've had a few of the girls have come through the under 14s, the under 16s program. I mean, the pathway that they've got set up at Rovers is really good, and we're producing some really good talent. I mean, Aaliyah, our captain, she's the coach of the under 14 girls, and they were all there yesterday. And you think in a few years' time we're going to be playing alongside them, and they're going to be in the women's squad. So for a lot of them, they've kind of come through the ranks at Rovers, and then there's a few like me that have just picked it up over the last few years and hope for the best. But going forward, the pathway that they've got set up, hopefully we can bring a lot of new talent in and just keep pushing forward and keep winning titles and trophies.
I mean, that's so encouraging, isn't it? Because quite often people look at the Women's Super League and the very top level, and they'll see players swapping between 3 or 4 clubs, won't they? So it's really encouraging to hear elsewhere there's a lot of development work going on.
Yeah, definitely, and I have to say, I think they've got, I know they were technically arch enemies, but at FC they've got a similar sort of thing with their pathway. They're bringing a lot of girls through. In Hull as a city, like, things are only going to get bigger and better for girls rugby, hopefully, moving forwards.
Now, I know you mentioned that your journey into rugby league has included, judo and rugby union. How did you end up switching? How did you end up picking up a rugby league ball?
Well, I did judo for about 10 years, and then I went to uni, and I think I went to Leeds Met, or Leeds Beckett as it is now, and kind of judo was the only sport they didn't do, so I decided to go for the closest option, which was rugby union. Played in the Premier 15s for Darlington, DMP, and just kind of I went back after COVID, and I think I just lost the love of it a little bit. I mean, I was travelling I live in Beverley, so I was travelling up to Durham to train twice a week and to play, and just I just lost the love for it, and I thought, you know what, I want to play for a team closer to home, and one of the girls that used to play a few years ago, I used to play rugby union with her, and she was the captain at the time, and I just messaged her on Facebook and said, oh, are you still at Hull KI, still playing rugby? She said, yeah, and I said, oh, can I come along? Like, fancy a bit of a change? And she said, yeah, absolutely. And I went along to my first training session, and I just loved it, and I just never looked back, and I thought, this is actually what it's all about, that the team community and the team spirit is something that I'd never had. I think just because of the distance I've had to travel, any kind of socials or things outside of playing on the pitch for rugby union, it just didn't quite feel the same because it was so far away. Whereas this being round the corner, it was just, like I said, the team and the family atmosphere is just, something I've never had before.
And I get the feeling that's really fed into your game, and there's the reason why you're, with all respect, you're at the top of your game at the moment, aren't you? I mean, you've represented Community Lions this year on a couple of occasions. You've been part of a historic tour, going out there and going out to Serbia. I mean, that's a lot of experiences for anyone to pack into 12 months, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic season, a long one, a very long one at that. But yeah, very very grateful and thankful for the experiences I've had this past year. I just hope my body can hold up for a little bit longer, and we'll see what I've got left.
Well, you do realise that because I've been on tour with four of you, you've got a new fan of Hull Kingston Rovers women's side now. Be looking out for all your results next season. Lois, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate having this chat, and you disturbing your great downtime now that you've deserved to come and have a chat.
No, thanks a lot, Dave. Yeah, it's been great talking to you.
13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show, discussing the greatest game at all grassroots levels.
So well done to Hull Kingston Rovers. They've only gone and won a treble this year. So they finished League Cup winners, league leaders, and they've won the grand final, beating Oulton Raidettes by 30 points to 16.
And that's a good win, because Oulton Raidettes, if I remember rightly, were one of the teams that always had a good women's side.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Oulton won the championship last season, defeated Salford with a great performance from Caitlin Casey, who since then has gone on, and I've spoken about Caitlin on a number of occasions this year, and how her career progression looks like it's on a real upward spiral with Leeds Rhinos.
Yeah.
So they're a good team. And Hull KAR had to be good in the second half to overcome a half-time deficit. Lois led from the front. I know she was saying, I only get the ball 2 metres out and drive over, but she scored 2 tries. And what a run that is, by the way. 51 tries, she says, in 44 club games. She scored 4 tries in 2 tour games for the Lions as well.
And you can't take that away from her, can you?
Definitely not. So, great to hear from Lois. And there was again a lot to unpack really in that particular interview, and I love the stories that some of these women have about sports that they played before rugby league and how they've got to play rugby league. So it sounds like she was doing an awful lot of travelling, heading up to play for Darlington and training in Durham a couple of times a week, and I can imagine that being quite a lonely experience if you've got nobody who's making that trip with you. We always joke, don't we, in the professional game about having Lancashire and Yorkshire buses if they're going on, but it does show if you've got some support and you've got that support network around you, it can work for you. And obviously Lewis has found that family feel at Hull Kingston Rovers, and fair play to what they're looking at doing as a club as well. It sounds like they're similarly set up to how Warrington are with regards to junior teams, players at under 14s, under 16s, and you've got to build your sides.
It's a pathway, isn't it?
It is a pathway, because at the moment, there's a lot of emphasis on the top 3 clubs, and perhaps rightly so, because they're right at the head of Women's Rugby League and Women's Super League. But there's got to be more to it than that, and the best players just swapping jerseys with whoever's paying the money. There's got to be more to it, and I think we've got an awful lot more young talent that is starting to come through the ranks. Hopefully that's going to drift into the Lions programme in the future. Hopefully, Lewis's, people like Lewis are going to have an input and have an influence, because now we've got girls that are playing rugby league, and they've got genuine people they can look up to, haven't they?
Yeah, and that's what you need, isn't it? And it sounds as though that community spirit that they've got there, male community spirit. I mean, you've just talked about the top three women's sides. I mean, when they first started, and it's still there to some degree, I mean, you could see that same spirit was there because they started off from nothing in that, they've all come together from wherever they've come from, and that they've gone on this journey together, but they've built into it together, and also then you've got the crowds that follow them now are the same sort of community side crowds that you get at pitches at the weekend, watching the kids play rugby, watching obviously the girls play rugby. That they've taken those on board, so you're getting that. It's just been moved from sort of outside into sort of better stadiums, I suppose, in a way.
Definitely, yeah. So I think there's definitely more to come from that Hull Kingston Rovers side. But again, thanks to Lois for letting me disturb her close season, which she's well earned after it starting back in February, playing for the Lions against the D side. And we look forward to seeing what it has to come. So, Steve, we're just about at the end of the show, mate.
Yeah, a short one, but packed as ever with quality stuff.
And we'll have more next week.
Yep. So was it Wales this week? So
Wales this week, yeah.
Oh, you'll be coming on with a leak and a dragon, won't you? It was Guinness this week. He's come on with crates of Guinness and those funny hats. You can't send him away. I don't know.
We don't do
13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show, discussing the greatest game at all grassroots levels.